All right, welcome back to the Kraken Power Podcast. We're your hosts, Yoshkoen and Brandon. In this episode, we're talking about biohacking for everyday people. Because in a world of red light therapy and grounding mats, what do you do? We're going to be discussing it in this episode. Roll the intro.
Welcome back to the Kraken Power Podcast.
So in this episode, we're going to be talking about biohacking, and we split it up in an interesting way. Basically, we're going to talk about the top 3 things that have given us the most benefit when it comes to biohacking, and then also the top 3 things that had very little impact or literally didn't do anything at all. So this is going to help everyday people with biohacking. It's just like a stepping stone, because the thing is, like, these are our top 3, but there's many more that have been quite impactful, but we had to choose 3 so we can keep this episode nice and concise and to give people an action plan on what to do now.
And I was taking a look at the list, and you and I have some similarities. But if you know Yoshko and I, like, we have tried a lot of things.
Yeah, oh yeah.
A lot of things, because we're like always like, you know, high energy guys. We're trying to get as much stuff done during the day. So we're always looking for that next little thing to just push us over the edge.
Yeah, if anybody wants to buy a bed jet, like,
yeah, mine is collecting dust right now.
Yeah. So we're going to be, I guess let's start off with the top 3 things that worked. And then do you want to just like do like, I do one, you do one, I do one, you do one? Is that how you want to do it?
Sure, but like...
And then if there's any crossover and stuff, then we could... Did you memorize yours?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the first one, for sure, hands down, that made such a huge difference for me was taking magnesium glycinate before bed, like 30 to 60 minutes before bed. And the reason why is because my sleep improved so much from that. Because I used to clench my teeth basically my whole life. And I don't know why, like my stress levels are very low because I got them tested. And even when I like don't take magnesium for like 2 to 3 days, I start clenching my teeth, like if I run out or something like that. So I don't know what it is. I'm sure there's something biologically wrong with me, right? Because I've done blood tests, and I don't come back as magnesium deficient, but the magnesium seems to help me the most with that. So if I'm not clenching my teeth, then I have like less tension in my head and neck. And if I sleep better, then I guess that helps it as well. And then I get lower stress. And so, yeah, the magnesium biglycinate was huge for me. Oh, and also for falling asleep quickly. Not that I ever had big problems with it, but now I fall asleep like nice and fast, usually between like around 10 minutes.
The crazy thing is magnesium is like a cofactor in so many bodily.
Yeah, I think it's like 5,000 or more.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And also depending on what kind of binder you take with it. So, I mean, you and I have always discussed like biglycinate is by far like the most bioavailable way to get it in, especially if you're going to go and help use it to improve your sleep.
Yeah, for sure. I think I take one that's a blend of like 3 different magnesiums, but it has biglycinate in it. And I think it's like a good stepping stone for most people is just starting with the biglycinate, seeing how you feel from that, and then potentially doing some blends of magnesium in the future. But yeah, that was a huge thing for me, and I know it was for you because you still take magnesium.
I wonder for you, because like, you know how you used to clench, like it does have muscle relaxing properties. I wonder if like that is part of why you were clenching before.
Oh yeah, maybe I have like I just hold a lot of tension. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just the way that I move or something like that. Maybe it's just the way that my head is. Like, who knows what exactly it is.
It is also one of the electrolytes that is lost in sweat too. Do you sweat a lot?
I don't sweat a lot, but I do have an infrared sauna at home that I've been using every single day.
Right.
But that's new. That's like my new next biohacking thing.
I don't sweat. I just sit in the sauna.
Let's not talk about the sauna today. We talk about the sauna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah, because that's new. That's what I'm trying right now is the sauna, but I don't sweat that much, no.
I see. Well,
when I'm in the sauna, like I sweat immediately.
Totally.
So I don't have a sweating issue.
Yeah. For me, I'll take magnesium when I need it, realistically. I don't really take it habitually.
So you don't take it every day?
No. I'll use it more when like I'm feeling like super sore and really run down from my workouts, or if like I need to have a really good sleep. But I don't use it habitually. I found it when I did use it like regularly, I would feel kind of like almost like too drowsy, and it would take my muscles a little bit of time to like wake up in the morning. But maybe that's because I was taking too much too.
Were you? How many? Do you remember how many milligrams you were taking?
I think I was trying to get like 500 milligrams throughout the entire day, including my food too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So just like one capsule.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't like a crazy amount, but I did notice that the days that I took too much, I would feel a little bit more drowsy. But I've never really been like a person who has a hard time sleeping. Like I am a pretty deep sleeper already, and I would get like on my Oura ring like sometimes like 2 hours of deep sleep. It was crazy.
Yeah, so you'd get it regardless of 2 hours of deep sleep with magnesium or 2 hours of deep sleep
with magnesium.
Right.
But like without, it's usually like hour 20, hour 30. Right?
Yeah, so for me, getting 2 hours of deep sleep is like impossible. Like that would, be so hard.
Yeah, so
like I get like at most like an hour and 45, and that's like top.
Exactly. So people for you're gonna notice a bigger difference there, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right. It depends on whether you're like how you're holding stress in your body and stuff, and like I don't know, like who knows exactly what's going on in your body. And this is the thing with biohacking, experimentation. Like for example, okay, well I guess we'll get into it, but yeah, there's things that work for some people and things that don't work for others. But you also have mentioned like one of your top 3 is tracking and optimizing your sleep, which kind of like falls into this category as well of magnesium. The reason why I take it is to improve my sleep.
Totally.
So yeah, and I obviously did that as well. Like I got the Oura ring before you optimized my sleep, and I was like, yo, Brandon, you should optimize your sleep. And then you did it like the next day.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I said this in the previous podcast, but people always say like, hey, how do you like your Oura ring? I always say it literally changed my life.
Yeah.
Because before I would always be this guy who is like, 6 hours of sleep, I'm good to go. Like I'm functional, I can do things. Anything below 6 hours, I'm not ready to good to go, right?
Yeah.
But when I got my Oura ring, I realized that yes, I may be in bed for 6 hours, but I'm not really asleep for 6 hours. And then not only that, my quality's not that good. And one of the biggest things that tracking my sleep actually made me do was actually quit drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
because it would just totally wreck my sleep, and it was just not really worth it at all. So that has been a huge life shift change. I mean, obviously everyone goes through, especially if you're like an in-tune biohacker, you go through this phase where you're really trying to over-optimize your sleep, and it kind of almost like that stress that causes you to have slightly worse sleep. So you have to learn how to kind of tether it back a little bit. But overall, like it has had such a giant impact on my life of like how much energy I have throughout the day, how much more efficient with my actions I am, how much more energy, how much better my mood is, how much better my relationships with my friends, my family have been just from improving my sleep and tracking it.
Yeah, and I think it's a for sure useful tool in general just to optimize things that are outside of your sleep as well. Like it still tracks your steps, and it still tracks your heart rate throughout the entire day. So there's many more things that come along with the Oura ring that are outside of the sleep, but then that also indirectly affect your sleep, you know?
Yeah, totally. But I think it was the biggest shift for me was just being able to see the data.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because before I was almost like in denial that I was like 6 hours, yeah, great, awesome. And then I was like, whoa, no, that's not good.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, I'm still getting around like 7.5 hours, but it's really good quality. Like I'm getting like hour and a half of like deep sleep, hour and a half of like REM sleep, and I'm asleep the entire night.
So when you sleep for 7 hours, like you get, what are your sleep scores?
Yeah, like 85.
That's
plus.
insane. Yeah. So for me to get to 85, I need to sleep at least 8 hours, at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because I think quality now for me is much better and much improved because of like the lifestyle changes that I've made. Like I don't eat close to bed, right? I'm trying to like reduce my blue light exposure before bedtime, right? I try not to exercise close to bedtime.
Yeah.
Trying to wind myself up.
So I do all of that.
Yeah.
But I still don't get as good of a sleep as you for
Yeah.
more sleep. But so basically, that just shows you how different everybody is. And like to say that everybody needs to get 8 hours of sleep is so wrong. Like for me, I definitely need more than 8 hours of sleep.
Right.
And I think for my wife, like she needs to push that like 10.
Yeah.
And so, and it also, now that's the thing, like she'll get like 2 hours plus of deep and REM sleep, but like she still needs it, you know? So you always have to, you always have to experiment.
Yeah, that's why it's almost like even though we're sharing our own scores and our hours, it's like you should realistically, it's subjective, but you should almost really be tracking against yourself and trying to improve yourself, right? Totally. And that's what the ring was, or any of these wearables were actually designed to do, That's why they don't really have many like friend features on it, where you can like high five each other for getting a great night's sleep, or like comparing like, oh, look at my scores versus yours, right?
Yeah.
Like you can tell they've toned that portion down just so it's like it's a single person's journey.
Yeah. No, and it truly is supposed to be like that. But another, so I just realized that all three of my like top three have something to do with sleep.
This is the Vancouver Sleep Podcast, remember?
Yeah.
This is what it always is.
But so basically the next one is I quit coffee. So that's been a huge thing for me as well, where I realized that I don't need the coffee. Where before I used to drink one coffee in the morning, like you as yourself right now, like you only have the one. And then I would go like months with just drinking just one. But then eventually I'd have like a second one that's like later in the morning. And then eventually like I'll maybe even push it even a little bit later than that. And then next thing you know, like it's affecting my sleep. So I realized that like I just need to completely 100% cut off caffeine. And I've done it in the past, but then this time I was kind of like angry about it, you know? So that was the difference. So before I quit and I was like, I feel good. Like I don't need caffeine, like screw caffeine, right? But then now I'm like, I hate caffeine.
Yeah, like screw your
it ruined my life.
Yeah,
you know?
I can't believe you're drinking that poison.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit smug about it.
Yeah. Well, good for you. I still have like one coffee in the morning, but to improve my sleep, one of the biggest things was I have caffeine cut off, right? And was making sure that I have like literally no extra like stimulants that are gonna keep me up past 12 o'clock, right? And that, has shown in my Oura Ring scores and just my quality of sleep and energy throughout the day, realistically. Because I do notice this, like on Saturdays is the day where sometimes like our trainers will come in and they'll be like, do you want another coffee? And it's like 10 o'clock. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll have another one. That's the only day that I, every other month, I might have 2 cups of coffee. And I know by like 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's a crash. There's a huge crash.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. And that's the one thing that I noticed that I don't have anymore ever since I quit coffee is I don't have the crash. And it's not like I had like a super intense crash, like I was like done for the day, but like 2, 3, 4 o'clock would roll up and I would be tired. But then now I think it's like 2 or 3 o'clock right now and I don't feel tired. So it just kind of like evened that out. And then also the one thing when I quit coffee was like, I thought that I was going to be tired. Like that, like no coffee, like that thing that keeps me up is going to, like it's not there anymore. So I'm just going to be tired all the time. I'm not. I was tired while I was drinking coffee and I'm tired now. Like, there's no difference.
Yeah.
Like I still wake up and I'm like every human and every animal wakes up. They don't just like spring into action. You slowly wake up over like the course of like maybe 30 minutes for some people, maybe even hours for others. And then eventually you're just up and you're good to go for the whole day. But versus the coffee, you just like skip all of that.
Right.
It just gives you that little like zing in the morning. And, but the thing is like after a while, your body just gets used to it.
Right. You just
you get hooked on it in the morning because you like it's
you want to avoid all those feelings, and then realistically you're just pushing it on to later in the day.
At the beginning when you first start drinking coffee, like you feel something. Like you actually feel like a hit. But then after like 6 months, a year, multiple years, is just a part of your morning routine that like it doesn't do anything. And then when you don't drink it, that's when you have a problem because you have like all this withdrawal. Like that's like, oh, I'm so tired because like I woke up a little bit late and I couldn't make my coffee. It's like, but you didn't really need the coffee to begin with.
Yeah, we should just normalize. It's okay to be tired throughout the day.
Yeah,
like here and there, like pockets of tiredness. Like if you're going hard, you're gonna be
tired.
You're gonna be tired.
And on the note of the Oura Ring, it does show you like when you're engaged and stressed versus when you're relaxed and restored. And you do need to balance that throughout your day, and you shouldn't use coffee to do that.
Yeah. I don't know. My Oura Ring's always like, you're engaged throughout the entire day.
Yeah.
And then that's why I sleep hard.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, maybe that's what I need to do.
Yeah. Well, on that note, like, so because I have that caffeine cutoff, one of the kind of like biohacking things that I have leaned into, if I do need to get some work done and I want some periods of really intense focus during the afternoon, is I would use alpha GPC, which is a nootropic, which would not make me so wired. It would just kind of allow me to bring more like focus and more energy to the task at hand And this one goes in and out of your body very quickly. So it's not like caffeine, who has a 6-hour half-life. So it's not really affecting my sleep in the afternoon. And on top of that, there's some really good research coming out on this now, like creatine. Creatine, like habitual creatine, has helped me like increase my energy, my levels of focus. So sometimes I'll take like 2.5 grams in the morning and then 2.5 grams in the afternoon if I really need that little bit of a pick me up.
Yeah, and I do like creatine as well because doctors have been actually prescribing creatine forever now for cognitive benefits. Like I think there are studies even way back like 20 years ago that showed that creatine helps with memory and also with preventing Alzheimer's.
I see some like creative people using creatine now for like
Sorting in.
Creatine. Whatever way you get it in you. There's easier ways, but like people who are like writers, who are like artists, and there's even some people using it for like depression.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So I should maybe like start dabbling into the creatine again because I stopped taking it.
Well, it's like so easy to get, right? It's cheap, it's available to you, and it's one of the most scientifically proven and studied supplements out there.
The only thing is, so on the like this whole podcast, we've basically been saying like how like everybody's so different, right? So in that theme, I am very creatine sensitive, so that's why I like end up stopping it all the time. So like if I start taking creatine like 5 grams, like I'm gonna gain 5 pounds.
Right.
So you just retain, like I just retain water.
Retain more water.
So I have to be really careful with the amount. So maybe if I was taking 1 gram or 2 grams, then maybe it would be okay. But I think I need to keep the dose lower. But that's the thing. You have to experiment with these things and you have to like write down how it makes you feel so you can look back at your data and be like, oh, okay, these are the changes.
And this is how I remember how I feel and everything else like that.
But so my third thing was sleep. So we're just going to skip over that because we've been talking about it for basically this entire podcast. But your third one was food intolerance panel testing. And that's what I did as well. I didn't have any intolerances, basically. I think it was like kiwi. And I do notice that when I eat kiwi, because I had one like 2 weeks ago, that my mouth gets like itchy. But I like ate 3 of them anyway. Right. But I didn't notice any like digestive upset or anything.
Yeah.
So I don't even think I'm like that allergic to kiwi, maybe just a little tiny bit. But for you noticed like quite a few things.
Quite a big difference. And so when we're talking about like food intolerance panel testing, like Yoshkoen and I both went to our naturopath, shout out to Drew, who did an actual like blood panel. So they took our blood sample and then they did tests in the lab to see which foods you have intolerances to. And because I'm Asian descent, of course, I was like very intolerant to dairy. And I've kind of always known this because like growing up, I used to always drink lots of milk growing up, but it got to a certain point when I was like 15 or 16 and I was on the soccer field and I was like, oh, there's something wrong. And so I would avoid drinking milk for a while. But then later on in adulthood, I was like, okay, well, I want to take some kind of protein supplement. And I'm going to start taking whey. And I would always kind of switch brands to find ones that would kind of agree with my stomach a little bit more. And I was like, oh, okay, like the isolates, the ones that are more isolated, I can take those and kind of handle those. And it wasn't until I actually did the food panel testing where I was like, oh, no, even the isolates, I'm very intolerant to. And eggs as well. That one was a very big surprising one to me because I was like, oh, like eggs must be one of the most bioavailable things to like everyone. Like everyone is like literally what white life stems from. And like if you ever see like any animal in the wilderness, they would love to eat an egg of any kind.
Yeah, totally.
Right? So I was like, I should be able to eat eggs, right? So after I had this food panel testing done, like I actually avoided completely all of the foods that I was very intolerant to for a full month. Like completely. Like I was looking at ingredients because you'll be surprised like how much like eggs are in everything. Like if you like get a slice of bread, it's a brioche bun, eggs, milk, everything in there, right? So you have to be really careful of like what you're ingesting because it's probably going to have these things in it. And so I completely avoided these foods for about a month and I noticed like way less bloating. Like even my body shape changed. Like I didn't have as much bloating around my midsection. My mental clarity was better. I didn't have the digestive issues that I used to have. Like TMI, I would get lots of like runny diarrhea all the time, right? All of these issues completely healed. And, over time, I have been like slowly reintroducing some of these things, but in limited capacities.
Yeah, totally. Because that's the other thing too. Like whenever you take some sort of blood test, that's a snapshot of how you are at that moment in time. So it's not going to be super accurate, and including this test as well. So for example, like you might get some people who are like come back on an allergy test and they're like allergic to everything, and it's like, what the heck is going on? Like I literally can't eat anything.
Yeah.
But it's because your body's so inflamed that you literally can't handle anything. And then maybe over some time of you just like, not drinking alcohol and improving your sleep and not drinking so much coffee and like all these other things. And maybe like you're like super allergic to chocolate and you've been eating chocolate every single day. You stop eating the chocolate and you're no longer allergic to the other things. So, and sometimes it's a mix of things as well that people don't realize. Like it's a chocolate with a croissant, that like really messes you up, but you can have them separately. So it's just because it shows you on your blood test that you're allergic or your allergy test you're allergic doesn't mean that you're going to be allergic to it forever. But start getting healthy and start improving all of your inflammation, and then over time it will get better. Or maybe not for everyone. Maybe some people are just screwed forever. But it should get better. It should get better as you get healthier.
Totally. And then
You'll be able to like process more foods.
Yeah, Drew, like he explained it to me in like the simplest terms is the best. He's like, oh, just think about like all of like your life stressors is like a bucket, right? And like maybe like work stress, life stress, like all the food intolerances. There's these things that just like go into your bucket, right? And over time that bucket gets filled, and that's how much tolerance that you have to all of these stressors. And so if you're consistently filling your bucket, it's going to get to a point where it spills over the top and your body's just going to be like freaking out. But if you can slowly take a few of those things out, so when you do have one of those stressors that go into the bucket, you're like, hey, I got room for this. I got way more tolerance.
Yeah, totally.
To have this like
cheesecake.
Bun. Yeah, to have this cheesecake, to have this bun with like an egg in it.
Yeah.
And I think that because I've had this food panel testing, I was able to remove these things and then slowly, reintroduce them back in again to certain capacities.
Yeah.
But without that, I would have not have known, right? And so I think if I were to kind of summarize two of my like biohacking things, it's just these tools to make myself more aware of like what is going on with my body.
Mm-hmm. Totally. But now we're going to just quickly dive into the 3 things that didn't work for us and that or that had like very little impact, and we're just going to buzz through these really quickly, and we're not going to get into too much depth into them. But for me, one thing that like didn't do that much, I feel like maybe I just didn't do it as much as I should, was the red light therapy device. Like I just feel like whenever I was like using it, I want to say that like, oh yeah, it helps so much, but like I honestly, if I'm being completely honest with myself, I don't think that there's that much benefit to it. And then maybe I had to time it better with like different light sources and stuff. Like maybe I needed to do it just before bed, or like I don't even know exactly. Maybe because a lot of the time when I would use it, I would be like, I like my goal with it, right, was to help me improve my sleep, my circadian rhythm. So I needed the red light directly into my eyes. Like I'm assuming maybe I wasn't like close enough to my eyes. Maybe like there could be so many factors. Like I'm not going to say that it's not going to work for everyone, but for me, I just personally didn't feel like I got that much results from it. And I'm not afraid to try it again or like continue using it, because it's like I have it. I'm not going to sell it. Like I feel like it like I do need to figure out the method to add it into my life to help, but like I just didn't get that much benefit from it. So like if you're on the fence about buying, or I don't want to say it's not going to work for you, but if you're on the fence about buying it, just don't think it's going to be like a huge life change for you.
It's not going to like solve all your issues.
Because I have 2 red light therapy devices. You have 1, right?
I have 1, yeah.
So did you find that it helped?
I'll just say this. It feels really nice. That's about it. That's about it.
That's true. You still use it every day.
I'll use it if I'm like doing computer work, or if I'm like in the morning, I'll like turn it on when I'm doing computer work. So it's a nice wake up to the day rather than just being blasted by my monitor, just full of blue light right away. It's just like a nice light to wake up to.
Yeah.
It's very calming. I wouldn't say I had any crazy like healing of my injuries at all. My skin isn't drastically improved enough for me to be like, yeah, like I'm ready to be in a commercial.
Yeah.
But there's on the topic of skin, there's many other things like jiu-jitsu that's working against me. So
Yeah.
I would never say that like, yeah, my skin's completely better, you know?
Totally. So that was one thing for me. The next thing was a grounding mat. So obviously humans are meant to be on like grounded to the ground. And when you do stand on the ground, the electricity out of your body like leaves the ground. You go to zero. And right now, me and you are probably have like electricity in our body that's just like floating around there.
Around all this podcast equipment and using
totally.
plastic flip-flops.
But as soon as your bare feet touch the ground, that goes to zero. And so humans in the past used to run around barefoot, and like all animals spend 100% of their time completely grounded. We don't. So I got this grounding mat. The thing is though, and I'm sure it's like really good for me. Like I'm sure maybe 10 years later, I might look back and be like, oh, good thing I was using that. But if you think that you're going to get some sort of benefit from grounding mat right now, probably not. It's like so unlikely. And but I do 100% believe that we should be spending way more time grounded, because in nature, we'd be grounded 100% of the time. Now we're grounded 0% of the time.
I mean, we just spend more time outside, realistically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just
but barefoot though. You have to be connected to the ground.
Yeah. I mean, I did notice. Okay, so when I used to play a lot more volleyball, and we used to play like grass volleyball all day, I feel great because you're just like.
But you're in the sun.
You're in the sun. Your like feet are in the grass all day.
And you're moving.
Yeah,
but nothing
great.
too strenuous.
Yeah, it feels great.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, I guess like throughout the summer, I mean, the winter months here in Vancouver, it's like you're not going to go and just. I don't know, maybe Brett does. In the rain, just running through the forest.
Yeah. But also the grounding mat, like another way that you can use it for hours potentially in a day, because I would only use it like whenever I'm near a grounding mat and I'd be like standing on it, right? But or sitting down and putting my feet on it. But I've heard a lot of people, they put the grounding mat on their bed. So that way they're just like connected to it like for a full 8 hours. And that would definitely make a difference. I mean, I don't know if you'd feel a difference, but it would definitely, if you're trying to reduce the amount of like
inflammation and just.
I mean, I don't even know if it would, like, I don't know if you'd get immediate results.
Right.
But
like, I think the big needle movers are probably just like improving your sleep.
but if it can, maybe if it would improve my sleep.
Exactly.
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna try it for like a week in my bed, and then I'll come back.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
But the other thing that didn't work for me was the bed jet. So the bed jet, basically what it does is like it cools your bed.
Well, it's like
air conditioning for a bed.
Yeah, it's a fan unit that goes underneath your comforter, and then it just basically it's supposed to regulate the temperature above you, right, and in between you and your blanket.
Yeah.
I have one too.
Yeah, so you have one. So the thing is, like, I really liked it at the start because I think I got it during like the summer, if like close to the summer. But the thing is, though, I realized that like the timing of it has to be so precise.
Exactly.
So like basically you can either heat it or cool it. And like when I go into my bed, I need to be like
Cold.
Yeah, cold. So then I would run it cold, right? And then in the middle of the night, then I'll be like, oh shit, it's too cold. What do I do? And like,
Freezing.
Yeah, you're screwed. You don't even know what to do because you bundle up. You try to bundle up more, and it's like making it worse.
Yeah.
And then in the morning, you're like, okay, well, when I wake up in the morning, I want to be like nice and warm. But then like the timing was a little bit off, and then you end up being like extremely hot, like an hour before you have to wake up, and then it like ruins your sleep. So you need to get rid of that bed jet. For some people, I totally agree that it would like be really beneficial, especially if you're like a hot sleeper throughout the entire night and you're not like, you can't have like air conditioning inside your room or something like that. It would 100% help you. For me, I'm not a hot sleeper, so like it just didn't really do anything.
I mean, okay, I'm a hot sleeper, but I found that because the air current was going like over top of my body, wasn't realistically where I was like the hottest. It was like me on my mattress, which is where I had a lot of the heat, right? So I'm very curious about the 8 Sleep mattress.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would be like some kind of like mattress cooler that could also heat and cool down. Maybe that would be different, but
$4,000.
yeah, exactly. They have an anti-snore technology now. Do you see that?
Really?
So like when you are snoring, like it'll prop you up to prevent you from snoring.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, automatically.
Do you snore?
Oh yeah.
You snore?
Oh yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because I
Still
can't.
get good sleep.
Yeah, I can't breathe out my nose.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, because like typically snoring. I'm not a sleep doctor or anything.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like that is sleep apnea. Essentially, is sleep apnea.
No, I think I'm just sleeping hard. I'm just trying to get so much air in because I'm just like going, you know?
Yeah, but you broke your nose before, right?
Oh yeah, that'll do it. No, I'm just sleeping hard.
But you also mentioned cold immersion as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I find that, I mean, okay, there's always like the debate, heat, cold. For me specifically, cold immersion didn't really help me at all. And I've done like the ice baths, I've done the cold shower every morning kind of thing. And I think that it was like, my life is kind of already full of like a shock full of cortisol already. Like I don't need that extra jolt before I go to bed, that jolt when I wake up in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And I found that like when I did ice baths, like, yeah, I would do that hot cold cycle, but I would kind of get sick after because I'm already kind of like run down from the workouts that I'm doing. I'm already kind of run down from work, jiu-jitsu, life, everything like that. And so for me to get this crazy, like my body to go into like, oh my God, are you on the Titanic right now? And then just like shock, and then you feel good after, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Like 30 seconds after, I'm like, yeah, that felt great. But
yeah, but did you feel great because of like the endorphins that are coming? Like what made you feel good?
I think that's what it was.
Yeah,
right?
but then so just like those hormones are telling you like, hey, you got out.
Yeah,
congratulations, you didn't die on the Titanic. Like
you survived. Let's get
like,
the hell out of
it
here.
Feels so good.
Yeah,
you know, like it's not just because you feel good after doesn't mean the thing that you were doing is good.
Yeah. So like longevity wise, I don't think it was sustainable for me. As a matter of fact, I would get colds and I would get sick more often when I did it.
Yeah, totally. So, like I said, I have a sauna now, so I find that that's way more comfortable for me. And I just get out as soon as I start feeling like uncomfortable. Yeah. So like I sweat and it feels good, and then I leave once like I'm like, okay, like I'm starting to like tap my toes. I'm like, it's time to get out. But then I followed up with like a cold shower, which just cools down my body, and it doesn't feel bad, you know. And I only run the cold shower for as long as I need. It doesn't feel like, oh, like come on, let's go into this cold shower, like 1, 2, 3. You know, it doesn't feel like that. It's just like, oh, I need to cool down a little bit, and like you just like get your shoulders wet and your head wet a little bit.
I think there's a difference between like hot and cold, because like when you do even like heat immersion, right? You're gonna go into a sauna. It's not like your body temperature jumps from like 36.6 or 37 degrees to like 40 in like within a span of a second. Yeah, like 2 seconds, right? It's like it's slowly warming up. Your body's acclimating. You're like, okay, now I'm starting to get a sweat on. Okay, my breathing rate's kind of going a little bit more. There's like time for you to kind of like warm up. Where like when I did cold immersion, it would be like, all right, ready? 1, 2, 3, jump in this ice bath, and you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
right?
Like, so I don't know how much of a benefit there is to, especially like ice baths. I
think it's a great mental exercise.
But if you're already like pretty good with, because the thing is that like a lot of people with like the cold immersion stuff are people who are already active and who are already like fairly disciplined. Like somebody who's not disciplined is not going to be doing a cold shower, you know, or like a ice bath.
Ice bath.
Yeah. So it attracts people who are already like high cortisol, who are already like super disciplined. So then your benefits out of that, like I just don't see how much you're going to get.
And then on top of that,
more beneficial for you to sort of like think about how should you reduce your cortisol and how should you reduce your stress.
Yeah. And I think that like I had to be much more strategic and specific of the time that I actually did cold immersion too, because if I did cold immersion like within, I don't know, a few hours of me going to bed, like I'm not going to bed. I'm not sleeping. Your body was just like, you escaped death. Whereas like I can do like a sauna like closer to bed, and I'm like, oh, I'm ready to fall asleep. Right? It's like it helps my sleep, if not like disturb it.
Yeah, totally. So, and then you also, of course, mentioned intermittent fasting, which didn't work for you.
Yeah. So I know it's super popular, but for me, intermittent fasting did not work at all. And like, just to be kind of clear, like I was using it for like the cognitive benefits, right? And, cellular health, autophagy and such, right?
But there's like no autophagy that happens in intermittent fasting.
Yeah. So I was doing this back when I was in university. And when I was in university, again, times of high stress, my schedule's super busy. I'm doing jiu-jitsu, I'm doing work, right? I literally, like as an athlete, I did not have enough time in the day to get my calories in. Like if I restricted my eating window to 6 hours, there's no way I'm eating 3,000 calories in 6 hours.
Yeah.
And like in between my schedule and everything else like that. So what actually happened to me was I was eating less calories. And as an athlete, I needed those calories to fuel my like studying. I needed to fuel my workouts. I needed to fuel my training. And I just was like, my performance was just being depleted. And then on top of that, like, again, the reason why I was getting this like mental clarity at first is because cortisol rush.
Yeah.
Right. And it was because like your body's in like a fight or flight mode where it's like, we better search for food. We better search for food. We haven't had food in 16 hours. Like, be alert, on the alert. Right. And that's a rise in cortisol. And then I ended up actually getting shingles because of the stress of like school, training, intermittent fasting. Like, my body was in such a stressed state that I got shingles as like a 25-year-old man.
Yeah. People don't realize just how much you have to manage your stress and cortisol. Like,
Yeah.
it's so important.
Right.
But so in speaking of fasting though, like I do dabble with fasts every once in a while. Like, I don't even think I like told you this, but like even on Monday I did 36 hours.
Wow.
No food, no water.
Wow.
But basically the way that I look at it is like just it's not like for any benefit other than like autophagy and just mental fortitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I just do it because I'm like, I'm just not gonna eat tomorrow, and I just don't eat for the
Right.
entire day.
Right.
But and then like including like I don't eat like I don't like, let's say I have my last meal at 5. I don't eat at 5 the next day. Like, I'll eat the next day in the morning because I'm like, that's a day, you know? It's not like cheating, like, 24-hour fast. Like, no. Like, you skip a day.
Right.
And it actually makes me feel so much more grateful the next day. Like, especially the food the next day tastes so good.
I bet.
And like that, like I did dry fast, like just on Monday I did a dry fast, and I just like that first like sip of water is like amazing, and so I just like that because it makes me feel more grateful, and I think that gratefulness is something that a lot of people are missing.
Were you able to eat a lot in your first meals after, or no?
I just went back to eating normally.
Eating normally,
yeah.
oh, okay.
Like, so I didn't have like, I think I had 1 extra egg in the morning.
Right. It wasn't like
I earned this.
It wasn't like a rock cheat day.
No. I just like that's the thing. Like, where typically people are like going back to their crappy diet. Like, I just went back to
Just eating.
yeah. It's not like for the purpose of weight loss or anything. It's just to.
Right.
But the reason why I started dabbling in this because I went to the zoo and
Like,
the
those pigs
lions
never eat. Did they never get to eat for 3 days?
No, so the lions, I know this is obviously a completely different digestive tract and stuff, but I
Yeah.
just like it interested me, right? And into dabbling into it. So the lions, they feed them for 6 days and they don't eat for 1. And I was like, because they eat once per day.
Yeah.
And then so they'd eat for 6 days, for 1 meal a day, and then on the 7th day they don't eat. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And no, I like looked into it a little more, and I was like, you know what? Maybe Dana White isn't like so crazy.
Yeah.
And then I just did like just 36 days or so 36 hours. Yeah, so
That's what it takes to be the king of the jungle.
yeah,
just
I don't recommend that to everyone. It's obviously not for everyone. Like, I don't know if it would be if I should recommend it to a guy like you because you're so active.
Yeah.
But I don't think that there's anything that can
yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people, the reason why it's trendy is because it's just a good way for a lot of people to control their calories.
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
So for me,
Like, if you're trying to use fasting as a way for you to lose weight, like, there's so many better ways to do it.
correct. But just like inherently, if people like don't want to learn how to do portion control, or they don't want to inherently or they don't want to like weigh their food and ever figure out how many calories they're eating, they just like it's a byproduct of like only being able to eat during certain hours of the day. It's like you're gonna eat less calories.
Yeah.
But for me as an athlete, I needed those calories, and me having less was actually detrimental to my performance and my health.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all depends on like you and yeah, that's the point of this entire podcast. Like, it's all just dependent on you, and you have to experiment with a lot of stuff. And this is what we experimented with, and this is the things that gave us the most bang for the buck,
Yeah.
and the things that like didn't do anything.
That's why it's funny that we call them biohacks,
Yeah.
because it's like people just want the hacks. They don't want the like, hey, just sleep 8 hours. It's like, no, this is a hack.
Yeah. Like,
This is a
what do you
hack.
mean sleep 8 hours? I need sleep for 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically the end of this podcast. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yep.